What's going on, guys? I'm Tommy, and I'm coming at you with an action figure review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Hasbro The Black Series, Luke Skywalker Imperial Guard, and Princess Leia Organa Boushh from Shadows of the Empire. Shadows of the Empire came out in a time that I feel like a lot of Star Wars fans don't really know about or appreciate these days. It was known as the Dark Times, the time where there was no Star Wars new media coming out all the time. We didn't have movies, shows, anything official to look forward to. This kind of came out during a period where they were just experimenting with, is there still interest in Star Wars? Shadows of the Empire is a story that takes place between the events of Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, and Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. This 2-pack is kind of fun because it represents two disguised looks for our main heroes, that being Leia in her Boushh disguise, which we later see in the beginning scenes of the Jabba's Palace part of Return of the Jedi, and then Luke Skywalker in this really cool Imperial Guard look. This is a new look, reuses some clone trooper parts, so you know I'm interested in it, and I'm really excited to check this one out in particular. I picked this setup as a pre-order through Hasbro Pulse. Hasbro Pulse is a great service. I am a Pulse Premium member, so I do reap those benefits of free shipping and early drops sometimes. Definitely recommend Hasbro Pulse, to be honest with you. Taking a look at the packaging, this is the standard style of packaging for a 2-pack in the Black Series right now. Up at the top, you have your Black Series logo. You have a nice big plastic window showing you both the figures and their accessories. Over here, you have in vertical text the names of both of the characters, and then down here in this purple banner, which represents the subline for Shadows of the Empire, you have the name of the media, and you have some logos down at the bottom. On this side of the packaging, you do get a little mural image that's kind of cut in half here, and you have both of the characters in their respective disguised looks, and you have the names down here at the bottom. On the back of the packaging, it looks pretty cool. You have the Black Series logo, the characters' names, and then on either side, you have a mural image from what we saw on the side of the box, blown up a bit, and then you have a bio in about 1,000 different languages. This bio reads, "To gather intel on Prince Shizor's criminal Black Sun organization, Princess Leia disguised herself as the renowned Ubisian bounty hunter Boushh on Coruscant. But when Shizor captured her, it was up to Luke Skywalker, alongside his friends and posing as an Imperial Guard, to rescue her." Down here we have again the banner for Shadows of the Empire, and then we have all our legalese. Guys, don't feed Luke and Leia to your babies. Come on here. We have on this side a little bit of a wraparound window, Black Series logo, and some of that banner. On the bottom here, even more legalese, and on the top, nothing. That about wraps it up for the packaging on this set, so let's get it opened and we'll check it out. Alright guys, here are the twins out of the box. Before we take a look at the figures, let's first take a look at the accessories. We'll start with Leia here, just because she's the mostly reused figure, so we kind of know what we're getting into with her. Of course, you have the removable helmet. This is the iconic Boushh helmet that we see in Return of the Jedi. It's got some nice paint apps to it. I like the metallic effect with just that glint of like a little bit of an undertone there. It's almost like pearlescent. I really like that paint job there. The visor looks good, the little teeth area, the grill area looks nice as well. All the paint looks great, and I love this weathering here on the side of the helmet. That's really nice. Matches on the other side. Just a little bit of, I'd imagine, rust? I don't know. This looks pretty cool. I like this a lot, and it's a very nice helmet design. Leia also comes with a really cool accessory, that being the thermal detonator. This is very iconic to Return of the Jedi. Of course, you do have that silver paint app there, along with the black that kind of runs through the middle there. Looks like there is a little hole, possibly to have some storage on the figure. We will definitely be taking a look at that later. And then, of course, you have the staff weapon. This is just plain plastic here. No paint applications or weathering applied to this whatsoever, but it looks like the staff that Boushh carries in Return of the Jedi, so that's all I can really ask for. As for Luke Skywalker here, we do have his removable helmet. This, just to me, it looks like Power Rangers. I can't get that out of my head. It might just be the shape of the visor, but this to me just, it's so 90s. It looks like a Power Rangers visor, and I love the little paint application here on the little fin on the top. It's a pretty plain design, but ultimately I think it still looks good, and it's going to be a cool, unique look for the Imperial military. And then of course you have Luke's staff. To my knowledge, this is a new sculpt, and I think it's cool that they gave some extra new sculpting to this piece here. It's again done in plain plastic. You're not going to get any new paint apps cracks or weathering out of this one, but again, it's cool to have something new in the line. Setting Luke off to the side here, let's first take a look again at Princess Leia Organa. So this is her Boushh outfit. This has been released a few times in the line now. However, this is the newer version where they did scale her down a little bit. If I remember correctly, the original release of this figure was very oversized. Leia looked way bigger than she actually is, so I like that they've kind of scaled her down. Now, the first thing I have to point out here is the face. This is a very, very nice Carrie Fisher likeness here. The facial expression looks good, the paint on the eyes is very cleanly applied, the lips look good, and the hair is done very nicely too. She has that little bun in the back. There's no wash or anything in the hair, but I don't think that this figure needs it. All the bandoliers look great. You have all the different cartridges that are painted here in that gold, and then you have that silver piece here on the little chest piece. This chest piece is a kind of a looser overlay here that's kind of glued down. Then you have your backpack here, whatever this back accessory is, her back bling from Fortnite. You have some paint applications here that look really nice. I think these are in Huttese, if I'm not mistaken, and the whole thing does remove from the back of the figure, so that's pretty cool. You have that option as well. You do have some soft goods incorporated in here as well, just one piece that's kind of stitched together. Again, just adds some different layer and texture to the figure. One weird detail I always remember as a kid are the little kind of spikes on Boushh's gloves, and I always remember that from Return of the Jedi. So some nice sculpting here, no wash or anything like that. It's very plain in that way, and that's kind of how the rest of the suit goes. You just have some plain colors here. This is a thicker overlay piece for the skirt piece here, but you can see again, I think I found our peg for the thermal detonator to go on, but just lots of sculpted bits on the belt here. Nothing too crazy. You do have little bits of paint here down by the ankles, but yeah, for an older figure, I think the sculpting definitely holds up, and I still think this can look good on the shelf. Taking a look at Leia's articulation now. So this is an older figure, so it's gonna have some older articulation. So at the head, you have a single hinge and swivel here, so you're gonna be able to get some limited movement. She can look down a really good amount. She can also look up maybe ever so slightly, not much at all. You're not really gonna get any tilt out of that, but you do get your right and your left. As far as the shoulders, this is before the time of butterfly joints. I am just going to remove this backpack. It keeps wanting to fall out, but you do have the hinge and swivel. The hinge gets to just shy of 90 degrees, and there is a 360 degree swivel there. As far as the elbows go, we do have the single jointed deep cut elbows. Those are going to get you to not even 90 degrees, so that's kind of a shame. This definitely kind of dates this figure as far as the articulation goes. However, you do have that swivel at the top of the elbow. As far as the wrists go, this is another thing that definitely dates this figure as an older Black Series release. You do have the hinge and swivels at the wrists, except both wrists are the horizontal hinge. I really did not like those older Black Series figures that had this feature, so that's a little bit of a shame. There is a ball joint kind of halfway up the torso here, midway up the torso. That has some decent range, even with the overlay of this bandolier. And then, of course, you do have the hip joints, which are a ball joint that's hidden underneath this overlay. They have decent range, however, because of that stiffer overlay here, it's gonna be a little hard to get some more splayed poses. She does have a cut for a thigh swivel, so that's always good. And then you have my dreaded enemy, pinned double jointed knees. Not a fan of these in the Black Series line, but for an older figure, I'll always give it a pass if it's just something they haven't updated yet. And this looks fine, just looks really, really ugly from the front. That's why I'm not a fan of the pinned double jointed knees. And then down at the bottom, you have your standard Hasbro articulation with the forward facing pin for rocker and the hinge, which gets you a little bit of forward, gets kind of stuck there, and it gets you a little bit of back as well. Overall, passable articulation. I think this figure definitely looks better than it articulates. I think it really dates itself in the articulation department, but especially the head sculpt on this and the helmet sculpt look really nice. All right, let's look at the Luke Skywalker, which is maybe the only reason that I bought this set. I didn't care much for the Leia, to be honest with you. I don't really own a Boushh Leia in my collection anyway, but this Luke seemed very intriguing to me. I'm a big collector of Imperial troopers for the Black Series line, and this is a new variant that they've never done before, so honestly, I was really excited for this. As far as the face goes, it could be a guy being Luke Skywalker. I'm not sure what's going on with this super large chin here, but I don't know. The hair sculpt looks okay, definitely better than the Farm Boy Luke hair sculpt, and the face, it kind of looks like Mark Hamill. I'm not sure what I'm getting from this here. I'll tell you what though, the hair does seem to have a wash, and that does a great job of adding some depth to it, so I will give it that. And then as far as the armor goes, this is a really interesting hodgepodge here, and that's what makes this figure so interesting and exciting to me. So the overlay here on the chest appears to be the Commander Cody overlay, with another overlay with this kind of draping cape piece, which is a piece of sculpted plastic, and then over the little insert where Commander Cody's jetpack would go, you have this little different back accessory on the back there. A very clever way of doing some reuse with some clone trooper parts, and as a big fan of clone troopers, I think I have to give some points to this figure just for that. You have some new shoulder armor pieces here, which are on the O-ring system. Those have some very minor paint applications to them. This guy is pretty muted while also having a very striking color palette to him, with the very, very vibrant reds, with the kind of nice, not quite black, but it's closer to like a gunmetal color underneath. I really like that. He's got a lot of straps going on the arms here, and I really like the uniqueness of this armor. I like that the forearm gauntlet armor is more like a shin guard than it is anything else, and this reminds me when I was a kid and I used to play soccer, and I would use my shin guards as gauntlet armor. Very stinky, definitely don't recommend doing that. He seems to have the clone trooper hands here, and a lot of this figure actually seems like it's the 2023 clone trooper body, which is great. I think that's a great base body to build a figure off of. He does have trigger fingers in both hands. That kind of gives that away. Our Luke figure also has the lower torso of a clone trooper body. You have the cod piece is painted in red, and then you have the torso pieces in that almost like gunmetal color. A lot of the little circular pieces on the front of the belt are painted, and then the rest are just sculpted along the back here. And then what's interesting is this overlay kind of breaks into two belts here. So you have these kind of flaps of these pouches. I'd imagine these kind of look like holsters for blaster pistols. That's kind of interesting. I don't know what that's supposed to be, but that's kind of the beauty of Shadows of the Empire, is a lot of this stuff being from like a book, you can kind of imagine what it looked like more than anything else. As far as I know, most of the legs are newly tooled, so I've never seen these legs before. I wouldn't know if it is from something. I don't think it is, but you do have some nice, are these overlays? These pieces of knee armor? These might be overlays that are glued down. That's very interesting. That's actually, yeah, I think that's a glued down armor piece that's a little overlay. That's pretty cool. The lower leg armor looks super cool, fits that very glossy red aesthetic. And then of course you have your regular clone trooper shoes, and those are, I like these little black paint applications on the straps here. Very, very nicely done. I really like the way that this looks. And so now as far as articulation goes, this Luke has a lot more of a modern articulation scheme than our Leia does. So Luke is going to have the barbell jointed neck, so you have a ball joint up at the top of the neck and at the bottom. It's going to give you lots and lots of range here. So Luke can look down just a little bit, but he can also look up a pretty fair amount. You can obviously get some nice tilt out of that, and some right and some left. You have butterfly joints in here, which move and have lots and lots of range in here. And then of course you have your hinge and swivel, which the hinge gets well past that 90-degree mark. We love to see that. And then it does have, of course, the 360-degree swivel. If you're swiveling it, make sure you kind of keep this O-ring system armor with the arm here, because you might be stressing the plastic a little too much if you don't. Luke has very deep cut single jointed elbows, which are going to get you well past that 90-degree mark, giving you lots and lots of range there. And there is of course a swivel at the top of that elbow. At the wrists, Luke does have the hinge and swivel wrists. So on the right hand you have that swivel with a vertical hinge, and then on the left hand you have a swivel with a horizontal hinge. Luke has a ball joint about halfway up the torso, just like Leia. You're going to get lots of range out of that. And then he has the newer hip joints for the Black Series. So there is that ball joint that we are familiar with here, and the overlay does move itself out of the way very nicely. However, what's new about this is they do away with the thigh swivel cut, and in its place they give you a modified hip joint. This one is really nice. You can get a lot of range in and out on that thigh. Some other figures that's not the case, but I think they're starting to work out the kinks on this new articulation scheme. Luke's got deep cut single jointed knees. Those are going to get you to about the 90-degree mark, which is pretty good. There is also a swivel at the top of that knee. And then of course, once again, we have that forward facing pin for rocker here, as well as a hinge, which gets you forward and some back as well. Overall, I'm very happy with the way this guy articulates. It's kind of funny to have two figures, one that's a lot older and one that's a lot newer, both in sculpt and articulation. You can really see how far Hasbro has come. All right, guys, without further ado, let's start equipping these accessories and get these guys posed up for some pictures. So with Leia, what I want to do here is just first, let's put that thermal detonator on her belt for some storage there. We'll see how good that is. You do have to kind of work the thermal detonator on there, but once it's on there, it's a very snug fit. Definitely going to pass the shake test. I'm not worried about that falling off the figure at all. It just looks a little bulky on the waist there. All right, here they are. I have both of them with their helmets tucked up underneath the arm here. Funnily enough, Leia seems to have an easier time of doing that than Luke does. That helmet that Luke has, that Power Rangers helmet, it's just a very awkward shape, which for this particular pose makes it difficult, but obviously that's not what you're probably going to be doing with these figures. You're probably going to be taking the helmet and putting it on the head here. So let's start by doing that with Luke. This is going to be a pretty snug fit, and to be honest, it looks pretty good with it on here. You can kind of see his hair poking out a little bit if you look up and underneath it, but when you're looking head on, as long as you keep that chin from poking out of the bottom of the helmet, it actually looks pretty cool. And again, just such a 90s look here, such a 90s aesthetic, and I really dig it. As far as Leia goes, we'll take her Boushh helmet and slip that over her head, and that also looks really good. You can kind of see, again, some of her hair kind of peeking through because it does drape a little bit. However, I think they both look really proportionate, and for being removable helmets, both of these look really nice on the figures. All right, now we need to attach their melee weapons here. So Boushh, of course, is going to have her weapon. Yato, yato. It's one of my favorite lines ever, is one of the Boushh lines there. So there's her with her weapon in hand. Then obviously the one for our Luke figure here. This reminds me a lot more of like a Magna Guard staff. It is not a Magna Guard staff though. It is a different weapon. However, it is very close. You can kind of tell with the newer Black Series figures, you can kind of just see like how much more natural this one on the right looks. And I do have to say, Hasbro's gotten really good at mixing better articulation with better looks for these figures. And here I've got both of these guys in some one-legged running poses here. And as you can see, again, I think it just goes to show that like while visually the Boushh figure does hold up, it's the articulation that I think really shows it's made its leaps and bounds when going to these newer figures. This Luke looked so much more natural in hand than the Leia does. And with that, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this review. I think this is a pack worth picking up for a couple reasons. One, if you're just a big fan of Shadows of the Empire or the original trilogy era, I think you'll really like this set here, especially this Luke figure. I really like this one. If you're looking for a Boushh Leia figure, this is definitely the best looking one. It's got that updated head, and it's got just really nice clean paint apps throughout. Although it's a dated figure, I think out of all of the existing ones, this is probably the best one to have in your collection. But with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did and you're not yet subscribed, subscribe to Blitz Transmissions. I've got awesome Star Wars content coming out all the time. If you're an ARC Trooper in my Patreon, you would have seen this review early if you'd like access to early content, monthly giveaways, and other awesome benefits. The link to my Patreon is in the description below. Become an ARC Trooper for just $4.99 a month. If you're a fan of the reviews I do here on YouTube, or you just want to support the YouTube channel more directly, you could also check out my YouTube channel membership, Rancor Battalion. For just 99 cents a month, you get exclusive badges and priority replies in my comment section. You get access to all my reviews early as opposed to all my content like you get with Patreon, and you get to vote on what I review next for the channel. Fun fact, this review was voted on as being one of the next that I do by the Patreon members and the channel members. If you'd like some Blitz Transmissions swag, you could head over to the Blitz Transmissions Armory over on Printify. Link to that is in the description below, as well as links to my Discord and all my social media. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll catch you for the next one, and may the Force be with you.
Breaking off. All units, fire at will. 1-2, pick your target. Too many, Captain. Watch your stabilizer, Gold 6. Anybody cover me. I got 2 vultures on my tail. You've got to hold them here. Watch your left. I can't shake them.